This is a grammar lesson. I want you to go to your binders and get your document that reads verbs, 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 page 16. Put this video on pause, go get page number 16 and get something to write with as well. Today we're going to start a new kind of verb study, and it's called verbals. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with verbals, and some of you have expressed that you've had trouble with verbals in the past. So I'm going to try to go pretty slowly. I'm not going to throw all the verbals at you at one time. We're going to do one at a time. There are 3 verbals, but today we're only talking about the verbal called participle. Now, what is a verbal? A verbal is a form of a verb, but it's being used as a different part of the sentence. Remember what sentence parts are: noun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, subordinating conjunction, coordinating conjunction. Those are our parts of speech. And a verbal is a verb form, but it's being used as a different part of speech in the sentence. The first verbal we're going to study, participles. Now, we talked about participles in the last video that we had together, so that should be familiar to you. Participles may be present participles, and they end in ing, like studying or breaking. Or participles may be past participles, and they may end in different ways. They can end with a D, they could end with an ED, they could end with a T, or they could end with an EN. Let me give you a couple of examples. Past participle for study, for example, is studied, S-T-U-D-I-E-D. Past participle for to weep is wept, W-E-P-T. And the past participle for to break is broken, E-N. So we've got some regular verbs that create the past participle by adding ED, and we've got some irregular verbs that create the past participle in a different way. All right, now we're going to look at bullet number 3. Participles are verb forms used as adjectives. This is not new to you. You've been looking at these for years. Maybe you just haven't known that they were called verbals and that they were called verbals that were known as participles. You just may not have known that. Participles are verb forms using adjectives, used as adjectives, and what do adjectives do? They modify nouns or pronouns. Look at bullet number 4, and then we're going to look at some examples. Here's some examples of participles used as adjectives. Now, what I want you to identify when we go through these exercises is what's the noun that's being modified by the participle. What is the noun? Let's look at the first one. The teenager looked forward to becoming a working man. Now, I've bolded working. That's your participle. That's functioning as an adjective. Yes, it's a verb part, but it is functioning as an adjective in that sentence. And what's the noun that that adjective is modifying? Tell me. It's man. Write man in the blank. The second bullet. My muted phone didn't ring. Muted is the participle. It's a verbal functioning as an adjective. And what's the noun that that adjective verbal is modifying? The noun is phone. Write phone in. Now, keep in mind that muted can also function in a sentence as a verb, not a verbal. It can function in a sentence as a verb instead of an adjective. For example, I muted my phone. In that case, muted is functioning as a verb. But in the case of this sentence, my muted phone didn't ring, the word muted, the same word, is functioning as an adjective. Let's look at the third bullet. The newly swept porch looked much better. Swept is your verbal. It's a participle. It's functioning as an adjective. And what noun is it modifying? Write it down if you can before I say it. It's modifying the noun porch. Bullet number 4. The baked cookie was better than the raw dough. Baked is your participle. It's a verbal functioning as an adjective, and it's describing what noun? Cookie. Write cookie in that blank if you haven't done it already. And bullet number 5, my mom said I could eat the broken cookies. Your verbal, your participle, functioning as an adjective is the word broken. And what is it describing? The noun cookies. Okay, you should have all those filled in now. Now, in the next exercise, we're going to do a few of these together, and then I'm going to leave you to finish them after this video is over. Underline the subject once and the predicate twice. Watch for compound and complex sentences, and that simply means that a compound or complex sentence is going to have more than one clause in it. So be aware of that. Circle the participle that is functioning as an adjective and draw an arrow from the participle to the noun it modifies. Now that's a lot of instructions to do, so we're going to talk through this together. And I just want you to draw that arrow when it comes to that point. Charlie glued the broken pitcher back together, but it didn't hold water. Our subject is, see if you can say it before I say it, okay? Our subject is Charlie. What did Charlie do? Our predicate is glued. Pitcher is a noun, and there's a word just before it that describes that noun. That word is a participle functioning as an adjective. What is that word? Broken. Draw an arrow from broken to pitcher. Number 2, Mia's neatened closet held more of her clothes. Now let's look for the subject first. Don't tell me it's Mia. It is not Mia. The subject of that sentence is closet, and the predicate is held. But closet, being a noun, is being modified by another word, and that word is a participle. It's a form of a verb functioning as an adjective. And that word is neatened. Draw an arrow from neatened to closet. We'll do one more. The sprouting grass covered the bare spots. What's our subject? Grass. What's our predicate? Covered. What is the word that's modifying grass? That's our participle, and that word is sprouting. It is a participle ending in ing. The other ones were participles ending in example 1, that participle ended in en. In number 2, that participle ended in ed. In number 3, that participle ends in ing. Now, you're going to finish those for yourself, but I want you to go down to the next exercise so I can explain it to you. Participles distinguishing between verbs and verbals, because as I said, the same word can function as a verb in a sentence, or it can function as a verbal. The participle functions as an adjective in the sentence. It depends on how that word is used in the sentence. So you have to be able to distinguish. The vase had been broken during a pillow fight. The word we're looking at is broken. If you look at that carefully, the subject is vase, and the predicate is had been broken, a main verb and 2 helping verbs. In that case, the word broken is part of the predicate. It's a verb. Now, I gave you another example in 2 of the use of the word broken, and it's being used in a completely different way. I had to show the broken vase to my mother. In that case, I am the subject, had to show your predicate, and broken is a participle functioning as an adjective, and it's modifying the noun vase. So look at the difference between sentence 1 and sentence 2. In sentence 1, the word broken is being used as a verb, and in sentence 2, it's being used as an adjective. And I've used the same format back and forth through all of these exercises. The same word used one time as a verb and used the second time as an adjective, or maybe I've reversed the order. Here's a hint. If you see a helping verb, then that means that your participle is being used as a verb. It is the main verb in the verb phrase. If you see a helping verb, think verb. Don't think adjective. And remember that we're talking about the two tenses that we already studied at length, and you know very well that the present participle forms the continuous tense and the past participle forms the perfect tense. And that's all for today. I'll see you next time. Have a blessed day. Work hard.